In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how I scaled my client Phil's coaching business from zero to $112,000 in revenue in just 30 days through only paid traffic. And just for some proof, here's an 11.9K payment coming through. We did $78,000 in cash and $113,000 in revenue. This is literally a live dashboard, as you can see, for the offer. Literally, here's the payment channel with some payments from February. We scaled this from scratch. You can see that my client Phil has 121 followers. So if you're an offer owner looking to implement paid ads, if you're an operator looking to learn ads and looking to be able to scale clients from 0 to 100K in a very short time period, then listen up. This is going to be super, super valuable. So my client Phil, he's an Amazon wholesale coach. His Amazon business has done over $3.5 million in revenue. He's still running it. And his students have done, 10 million plus in revenue with their businesses. However, before working with us, he was actually a net negative with his info business, which is really strange. Info businesses, coaching businesses, they're the most profitable businesses in the world. I'm an operator because I love info, and I think coaches are the same. They're running high profit margin businesses. However, he was down $50,000. He'd paid bad agencies that had, made a webinar for him and that was completely dog shit. And he had dealt with a lot of ad costs and investment into the business with an extremely low return on ad spend, often just losing money on ads and then still having to coach clients and sign these clients. But Phil is fucking amazing. He was determined to build his coaching business. He wasn't afraid to put money into ads if he had the right strategy, infrastructure, and sales team backing him, which is where we came in. We took Phil from literally losing money on ads to having a system in place where he could print money on, autopilot at 5x return on ad spend. As I say, for this, month of February, we only spent around $18,000 to $19,000 on ads to generate these returns. And as I said, in this video, I'm going to be showing you everything we did to take him from 0 to 112K rev in 28 days in the short month of February. So number one thing that we did, and the number one thing we had to change coming into this offer, was the offer itself. Prior to working with us, Phil was charging high ticket, but he was severely undervaluing himself. He was giving away weekly one-on-one calls for literally a 3K offer for like 6 months of like weekly one-on-one calls with himself in kind of a desperate attempt to close deals and salvage back some of his ad spend. And also he was doing 6 weekly group calls on top of this, by the way, and he still does. So Phil is just a beast. But what ended up happening was that leads saw that he was charging less, like this offer is 3K, and then like there was so much in it, but naturally that puts people off because they felt like his offer was less valuable. And if you think about it, imagine you like wanted to buy a Rolex and suddenly they were all on sale for $100. Or whatever it cost to make them. Let's say it cost them, $500 to make them, and they were selling them for $550, $50 profit margin. Everyone would think they're just less valuable, and then the demand for the Rolex would just go straight down because basically anyone can afford one. And it's the same principle when it comes to positioning your high ticket offer. Phil's offer and knowledge, by the way, also focuses a lot on VA placement, specific AI software he's developed for his coaching program, supplier connections. And so the actual deliverables were more suited towards businesses and more advanced people rather than beginners, which also, when you're selling to business owners and you have like such hands-on fulfillment and a lot of done for you elements in an offer, you can charge way more than $3,000. And remember, as coaching businesses, we are in the game of information. We're not in the game of information only. They call it an info business, but we're not in the game of information. We're in the game of transformation. And so we restructured the offer to offer a complete transformation for existing Amazon sellers and wannabe Amazon sellers who want to do Amazon wholesale. So rather than our offer being, Phil only helping beginners start an Amazon business from scratch, which is kind of what he was told to do because there was a bigger market for it, we adapted our messaging and began selling to those who are more in market, already looking for a solution, helping people who are already running Amazon businesses automate them, or get in touch with better suppliers, or branch from an e-commerce venture that they've previously done into wholesale, as well as obviously still beginners coming through within our ad messaging. But generally what you find is when you're targeting these more in-market people, you have to do a lot less convincing, and there's a lot less friction in terms of getting bigger deals like the 12K PIF that I showed you. And we've sold, I think, 4 12K deals just in February from this offer. So the people we were targeting in our advertising were more advanced. And like I said, there's less friction and we can charge way higher prices. So for this new kind of in-market ICP that we were targeting, we structured 3 new offers. First of all being the DIY offer, which was simply 6 months of community and course access, 6 weekly group calls, ask Phil and coaches questions in the community, all the templates, software trials, network of VAs, access to business funding, or support to get business funding, and an onboarding call for 3K. So this is, what he was previously charging for like weeks and months of just one-on-one intensive stuff. So we essentially doubled the price for that offer and made it bi-weekly one-on-one calls. For 3 months of coaching with a work with you for free guarantee, which is essentially a guarantee where it's like, if you haven't achieved X outcome and you've been putting in the work, Phil will keep working with you one-on-one until you've gotten this result. And then we also realized that, speaking to this in-market persona, a lot of people had more money. And so our elite offer and the offer that we actually pitched more time on call was basically everything in these 2 offers, but also 1 year free access to a buyer's group where Phil literally kind of it's kind of difficult to explain if you don't know wholesale, but he basically ships products to his warehouse, but they are sold on your account. It's like something like that, which is super, super valuable for any kind of advanced or even beginner seller. Access to pre-sourced products from Philip's own suppliers. And like I said, Phil does some of the fulfillment himself, and he obviously gets kickback on this, but it also makes his clients even more money and has all the different prep services only available in this elite offer. And the elite offer has lifetime access to everything the community in the program. We might be looking to change this. We want to implement some better tactics for lifetime value, but Phil gets a lot of lifetime value from upsells and internal selling systems that he has inside of his program. And he also has a money back guarantee on this program if they haven't made a profit on it in the first 6 months. So these offers, all of them, led to higher AOV, so higher average order value at $4,147 was the upfront price we were getting, or upfront cash we were getting on average per call. And also it meant that the clients that we did work with were higher quality and also were more likely to get better results inside of the program. Now, like I said in this part, we had to be extremely, extremely clear on our ICP with this offer. With previous ad campaigns that we had seen him run, Phil was targeting mostly 9-to-5ers who wanted to make their first money online. And these people were coming onto calls needing a lot of convincing. And the majority of them, even though our webinar was amazing, were broke or they just weren't a fit for the offer. And same as what we did for offer, we changed our messaging and our targeting within our advertising from a needs convinced and kind of mass market demographic to an in-market demographic. And essentially what you have to understand, and this is obviously from Jeremy Haynes, is that this is the market, right? This is like the market. Maybe 33% of the market up here are just never going to buy. They're really skeptical. They're not interested in Amazon, whatever. 33% are kind of the everyday person, the mass market person that, it might be like anyone. You see them working in a supermarket. And if I had a real conversation with them and I answered a lot of their questions and showed them real proof that I was running an Amazon business and they could do it too, after, a decent level of, going down the stages of awareness of completely unaware to solution aware, product aware, all of that stuff, yeah, they could buy eventually, but it would take quite a long time for them to get to like the point where they're ready to buy and they have enough interest where they are ready to buy. We have a needs convinced demographic, which is more like a slightly more aware than mass market, but still this is like 30% of the market where they do need more convincing. They aren't looking for some sort of solution. But what we ended up targeting was in-market demographics. And so this is typically 3 to 4% of the entire market. And these are people who are already looking for a solution, already sold on Amazon as a business model, already sold on ideas and things that are adjacent to Amazon wholesale, already sold on the idea of e-commerce, and they might even be actively looking for a solution to help them. So why would we, in our advertising, not target these people who are in market, who are already looking for some sort of solution, rather than going really broad and having to really convince people in the 9-to-5 that Amazon is the right thing for them, when these people typically have less money and a lower intent. Like the difference between our Phil's original ICP and our in-market ICP was literally like night and day. So mass market ICP kind of up here is like, people who want to quit their 9-to-5. And when you do that kind of messaging to people who want to quit their 9-to-5, you have to include income claims, like crazy client results, and Amazon is a really quick way to make a ton of money. And it just brings a lot of unqualified leads. If you think about an ad that, speaks like that, you're just going to bring in unqualified leads. And the people who come through the ad aren't necessarily very sold on Amazon, on e-commerce, or making money online, or needing to invest in inventory on Amazon wholesale as a business model. And so it was much more difficult for us to convey value to them in terms of what we were selling. Whereas with an in-market ICP, we switched to targeting people who were already sold on the big vehicle of e-commerce as a way to help them achieve financial freedom or their goals. They were in market for this bigger vehicle. They'd maybe previously sold on Amazon. They were sold on needing to invest on inventory. They were already actively running an Amazon business. They were struggling to delegate tasks, struggling with suppliers, struggling with product research, struggling with fulfillment in their Amazon businesses already, and they wanted to scale faster. People who had already tried, like a Amazon retail arbitrage, different models on Amazon, like Amazon FBA that are different to wholesale. People who had already bought Amazon courses. This was like a huge winning ad for us. That were people who had already, been burnt in the past by Amazon programs that didn't deliver. And that just shows that it's someone like attracting that type of person is someone who's already invested in themselves, already is kind of sold on Amazon and sold on this. And if they are looking, for another option, for a better option with Phil, who has some insane client results, then they're actually going to be much more easy to sell than someone who, like this, who has to go through all of the awareness stages. So what we did is we created 3 primary ICP demographics. Number 1 being the trapped Amazon seller. So someone who's already generating good money from the Amazon business. On paper, they're successful, but in reality, they're working 60 plus hours a week. They're drowning in operational tasks. And this is someone that we can really help with our offer. We also have a second segment of people who are making, decent money in a corporate job. And this is like, obviously you're gonna have to pay more. Something I will say is like with ads, you're gonna have to pay more to like target these people because it's very, very specific. I could say an ad and like, hey, you can make, 20K a month with Amazon, really easy, 9 to 5, anyone can do it. The ad cost would be much lower on that than if I target more of an in-market demographic. But with an in-market demographic, you are going to be attracting way better leads. So it's a trade-off you have to make, and you have to be aware of what your front-end numbers and your back-end numbers look like. So the second ICP we had was kind of the corporate person, so a 9-to-5er who kind of are already sold. They believe in e-commerce as a vehicle, and they want a scalable side income that doesn't consume their already limited free time. And wholesale is actually a business that doesn't take up a tremendous amount of time once the systems are in place. And then we also had a third segment of someone who had already, bought Amazon courses, already selling on Amazon, but doing retail arbitrage or doing FBA. And they're making they're making good money from it, or they've been burnt in the past by a program for it. And they want a more sustainable vehicle where they can delegate a lot more and it's more automated and it's actually like a real business. And so the prompt we used to do this inside of our AI project for our offer was this one. So I'll let you screenshot this. You can literally copy and paste this. You should already have like an AI context document for the offer, for your offer, or your client's offer if you're a growth operator. And using this will literally be so useful in creating this in-market ICP when you start running ads. And essentially, if you don't already know, I'm going to be recording kind of more a full breakdown on ads, but you attract people in your ads. Like if you want to attract these type of people, how you do it, how do you get like this type of person to come into your funnel and book a sales call with you? It's through your messaging in your advertising. And your messaging in your advertising is what is seen in the ad, what is heard in the ad, what is read in the headline on the next page of the ad, and what is perceived from all of this. And so the major changes we made for Phil were, number one, switching from filming ads in his sports car to filming them in his actual Amazon warehouse with his products in front of him. And we did kind of the same with our static ads. We made them much more in market with the design elements, showing different things that are specific to, what you got to think. Someone who is already selling on Amazon, or someone who's, familiar with Amazon, sold on Amazon, them seeing, an Amazon product in an ad, them seeing a warehouse where products are physically being sold, that is going to attract them way more than, an Audi TT that's super expensive. That's going to attract broke people. If you show Lamborghinis, if you show flashy things and make really bold promises in your ad, that messaging is just going to be, shown, and more people are going to click on it that perceive it as something very easy for them to do, and that's going to be a big mass market of fucking broke people. So that's why we changed that, of course. And even in our headline, we removed all of the income claims from our headline and all of that side of thing on our landing pages, because initially Phil was running like how everyday people, first of all, like kind of bad targeting in terms of your ICP, can earn life-changing income, huge income claim, like off the headline, selling soap on Amazon. And no, I suppose it's not too bad. Like what would be even worse is like you can make from 0 to 10K in 30 days guaranteed with Amazon without lifting a finger, even if you're completely broke starting from nothing. That is like going to attract the worst type of people coming through your funnel. So our headline now reads somewhere, I'm not going to obviously say the exact headline on a YouTube video, but how to build and scale profitable Amazon wholesale business without sacrificing X, Y, and Z, selling everyday products, blah, blah, blah. That is a lot less income claim based, but then we have a subheadline that reinforces kind of language that our prospects would use. Because if you think about the language of scale, that word speaks more to business owners than general people. And so that's why we're able to attract people into our webinar that will pay $12,000. So you can literally see, like I say, what I write here is what they hear in the ad. So also, language, so words like revenue, delegation, workflows, profit, and margins, and all of this stuff is going to attract us better leads when we use it in the ads. So for example, a difference in a static ad that was run before and that was run afterwards when we made this change from like 0 to 100K a month is, an ad that says, tired of buying from liquidators, learn the direct source strategy that helps Amazon sellers scale without headaches, high profit margins on every product, click below to watch a free explainer video. Like all of this language is going to be like, no one in a 9 to 5 is going to be clicking on this ad. And so Facebook isn't going to show it to more people like that. And so we're going to attract better leads. Whereas this one, where it's like the new way to make money online, it's working for regular people. He hit 1.7K in a day in 3 months, and yeah, that's good. And we've generated 10 million in student sales. This can attract a lot of cheaper leads. Like we were getting $5 to $6 cost per lead here for a webinar, whereas it was 8 to 10 on this ad. However, on the back end, what we were seeing is that our show rates were kind of lower, our intent was lower, our qualified call cost was way higher. Even though we did get like a decent amount of bookings, the actual quality and the people who were willing to buy were not coming from these ads. And so our cost per qualified call on kind of back in December, January, when we first like started consulting with this offer, it was, they were running at like $400 cost per qualified call. The actual cost per call was 200, but 50% of calls were unqualified. The cost per acquisition, the close rate was like super high. Well, CPA was super high, close rate was super low, and the return on ad spend was like 1.6, and the business was basically breaking even. Whereas when we implement slightly higher front end costs, and we're actually working on getting these down, we were at like $7 CPL for the last webinar, even with in-market messaging. Our cost per qualified call was around $280. Our cost per call overall is $200 still, but we're just having many, many more qualified leads. And our cost per acquisition is around $900 because our close rate is way higher, the intent is a lot higher with leads. And our cash average order value, compared to being like $1,000 to $2,000 here that they were getting paid on call is 4,500. I think it's slightly lower now, 4,100. And our cash return on ad spend is 5x. Revenue return on ad spend is 7.5x with a higher PIF rate. No churn so far, no refunds, no chargebacks. And the 12K offer is absolutely printing, like I say here. Now, when it comes to writing ad copy, do not use AI. 90% of ads nowadays, like that I see on my feed, are clearly written by AI in some shape or form. And you're going to be rewarded much more heavily for putting in effort. So one of our winning ads for February was this one, where it was simply talking about how, if you've been burnt, like I have, like Phil had been, by an Amazon course, it's not your fault. I've got your back. I started in the same way and I've made every mistake in the book, but now I've figured out this system that's really helped a few people, help my students do this, and this. And so right now, I'm a family man, I do this. And if you want, to learn more about this, click the next link and go to my webinar. And you've got to think that, this kind of ad is attracting people. You may think that these people are going to be very skeptical of another course. And yes, some of them are. And the reason why this ad is working, and sending this to like a VSL typically won't do very well, because a VSL, it can build a lot of trust. And if the VSL is really good, it can help. But we were sending them to a live webinar hosted live by Phil in his warehouse, showing so much proof of like he's the shit and he's gone through this journey himself. So this ad was just converting super well in terms of, although this ad wasn't bringing us, this ad was probably only bringing us like 60% of leads that were signing up to our webinars. And by the way, you can see that for all of our webinar tracking, by the way, inside of my licensing and across all of our agency clients, we track like granularly which, like every single sale, which piece of content led to that sale, what was the last touch point. And this is what has helped us scale, because we know that this ad is actually, even though it's only leading to 50 to 60% of registrants, it's leading to 95 or 95% of sales. And so we need to double down on similar messaging to this that is leading to like a 5x return on ad spend with this webinar. And also, of course, we're testing different ads and completely different hooks, completely different angles. But if this one is winning so far, why would we not double down on it? So yeah, like I said, even at the start of the month, we were seeing that every single close from the first webinar had come from this one ad that I'm showing you here. So when you are running ads and you do find winners, it's very, very important to double down on them. And of course, write ads with hand, like most of the time. Get ideas from AI. And I have full ad creation frameworks that probably wouldn't be showing on YouTube, but it is so important to not only use AI to get context on your ICP, and then find stories, find metaphors, find angles that work for your demographic that you're targeting. And then the final thing that you have to do if you do want to scale to 100K a month is have congruency with your messaging. So messaging, we've already spoken about it inside of your ads, but it needs to be congruent across your landing page copy, your headline, your subheadline, because you should never write in-market ads and then send to a mass market landing page with that type of copy, because it's going to be complete mismatch and your costs are going to go through the roof, because people are going to land on the landing page and they're going to be like, what the fuck is this? And they're not going to sign up. And then same thing for your email and reminder flows for before your calls or before your webinars or after someone opts into a VSL landing page. Your email should use the same messaging as your ads, and you should be very clear on who you're targeting with the offer. So that's why, like, whenever we onboard a client into the agency, and I tell my licensing clients, whenever you onboard clients inside of your agencies, you need to be 100% clear on this in-market demographic that you are targeting. Also, your VSL or your webinar, or your profile funnel, whatever you're running, has to be aligned. Like, our webinar was very much aligned to this in-market ICP, and that's why our webinar booking rate was upwards of 20%, because the webinar itself is really, really fucking good. And so if we know that, the people coming through our funnel, through our ad messaging, are going to be already sold on Amazon and e-commerce, we need to heavily focus on the value part of the webinar, making sure it's relevant for our in-market persona, rather than saying, oh, this is the beginner-friendly business model, blah, blah. They're pretty much already sold on the vehicle, but we have to show why wholesale as a vehicle is the best vehicle for Amazon, and why Phil is the best person to teach them. So for example, in our VSL itself, nowadays when we're looking to scale this VSL funnel, we aren't using any heavy income claims. We're using our ICP's language all of the time. And it's the exact same with the webinar in terms of this messaging of like build and scale a profitable Amazon wholesale business that runs in the background, speaking to this demographic of people that are already, like swallowed up by all the tasks in their business. Follow the proven system that's worked for me and 500 plus successful clients, run 85% automated Amazon wholesale operation. No income claims at the moment. Obviously, we show a ton of proof and Phil's numbers in the VSL itself, but we aren't using, we have more heavily leaning on value, and we're not using heavy income claims so that we attract better leads. And then in terms of your sales team as well, it's imperative that they look the part when it comes to selling to in-market demographics, and they need to have specific product and topic knowledge, so that prospects that are a bit more aware, that are a bit more sophisticated, see them as authority, and your salespeople are positioned as experts on the actual call itself. Shout out to Dom, my sales manager, for obviously, and the whole sales team involved in this offer. This is going to be at 250,000 months by summer, I guarantee it. So yeah, hopefully this video was valuable for you. If you are a coach who wants us to come in as an agency, we do have very limited space at the moment in terms of done for you clients. There is a link in the description for you. And if you're an operator who wants to learn how to do this for your clients, help sign clients into your agency, and run ads for them and scale them very quickly, because obviously we don't do this for free. We take a significant revenue share portion of this offer. that we make for our clients, for ourselves as an agency. So if you want to learn how to do this, then there's a link for you in the description as well to work with me one-on-one. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed and take care.